Now, our last speaker is Dr. Deshmukh Devdatta. He's a gold medalist from Mumbai University and completed a fellowship from the prestigious Shankar Nazariya in Chennai, India. He's presently working as a senior phacosurgeon and a medical retina specialist at Ophthalmology Center in AFH since 2006. He has presented various papers at national and international conferences, and he has publication index peer-reviewed journals. He is assistant faculty at postgraduate Oman Medical Specialty Board. He is a reviewer for Oman Medical Journal of Ophthalmology and a peer-reviewed open access journal. He is also an active member of Oman Ophthalmic Society and All Indian Ophthalmologists Society. He will be presenting today about cataract surgery in keratoconus. Dr. Deshmukh, go ahead.
Thank you, Dr. Shihab, for those kind words. Let me present today. My topic is cataract surgery in keratoconus, pearls and pitfalls. It is about a middle-aged lady which I operated recently with a moderate to severe keratoconus. Let us come to the case. She was 39 years old, lady, known case of keratoconus. We were following her since about 3 years. Earlier, she was using contact lenses, but recently she stopped using it because she developed right eye keratitis. Initially, she presented with a gradual diminution of vision in more in left eye. There was no family history of keratoconus, and she was not having any history of eye rubbing or a steroid use, and collagen cross-linking was not done for her. Initially, she came in January 2021. Her visual acuity in the right eye was 660, which was improving to 6.9 with almost -6 diopter of astigmatism. While in the left eye, it was 3/60, improving to 6/24 with -3 diopter of astigmatism. There were early cataractus changes. So we told her about the condition, and she told she will think about the surgery and come back to us. Later, she came in September 2021. Her visual acuity dropped further. It was 618 in the right eye and 3/60 in the left eye. In the right eye, she had a grade 1 nuclear sclerosis, and as I said earlier, she had an paracentral superior nebula. In the left eye, it was NS2 with a cortical grade 4 and a PSC of grade 2. So thorough counseling and pre-assessment was done for her. As keratoconus was stable over years, we gave an option, her an option of regularizing the cornea with a topo-guided PRK, but she was not very keen. And finally, she said she will go for a cataract surgery directly, and she was willing to use presbyopic glasses in case needed. So after this marathon discussion, we went for we decided to go for an femto laser assisted cataract surgery with a toric IOL for her. This was her pentacam. As you see, the keratoconus was quite advanced in the right eye, with a Kmax of 54.3 in the right eye and 49.4 in the left eye. As you can see in the right eye, there was a bit of flattening superotemporally, and this area was thinned out because of the earlier scar. I obtained Holaday EKR report. I just saw just to confirm the axis of astigmatism. Her corvis was, of course, way abnormal. This was her IOL master report. We have an IOL master 400, which showed axial length of around 25, more than 25 in both eyes. So she was a bit on a myopic side. And you can see the cylinder was quite high in the right eye, and it was -6.62, and in the left eye, it was around -3. But the best part was that her topographic astigmatism and the manifest astigmatism were quite corresponding. So I went ahead with Barrett's 2K toric calculator, and I targeted around -0.5 in the left eye, which we operated earlier, and around -1 in the left eye. So finally, she underwent both eyes Lensex cataract surgery with a toric IOL. We did her left eye first, followed by the right eye. Surgeries were uneventful, but we were pleasantly surprised to see her refraction at 1 month. We told her initially before cataract surgery that she may need to undergo future procedures, or even she has to use contact lenses or the glasses post-operatively. But I was quite surprised to see her unaided vision of 6/6 in both eyes, and even in fact her near vision was N5. So probably this has occurred thanks to her high comma, and autoref did not show any significant astigmatism. It was showing astigmatism of minus 0.75, but she was not accepting any cylinder as such. So she was extremely happy, and we were lucky to have such an excellent result in such a complicated scenario. But as you know, this may not happen in all cases. So why I'm saying so? Let us see why. So what are the challenges in such cases? And we have to address these issues in any case of keratoconus with a cataract. We have to see first the stability of the keratoconus, whether there is any need for collagen cross-linking, and whether we should regularize the cornea with a topo-guided PRK or an intracorneal ring segments. Then we have to determine the patient's future visual needs, whether we are anticipating any use of contact lenses for the patient, or in case of severe keratoconus, is there any need for future keratoplasty. Then comes the biometry challenge, and of course IOL selection, whether we should go for a spherical or a toric lens. And lastly, we have to anticipate the use of post-operative contact lenses or glasses, or we have to deal with refractive surprises. So this is a simple decision tree. As I mentioned, any case of keratoconus comes to us with a cataract, we have to first see a best corrected visual acuity. In case of grade 1 or grade 2, when the best corrected visual acuity is good, then and at topography showing more than 1.5 diopter of astigmatism, we can go for a toric IOL. In case astigmatism is less, we can go for a monofocal IOL. As you know, in grade 3 or grade 4 keratoconus, the first question we have to ask is whether corneal shape can be improved by topographic topo-guided PRK or intracorneal rings. And when this is done, then we can go for a either toric or a monofocal lens. Dr. Jarade has come with a similar algorithm, whereas he mentioned about the correspondence of manifest axis, cylindrical axis, and the topographic axis. If it is corresponding, then toric IOL gives the best results. Of course, in cases of advanced ectasia, we have to deal with that case with a triple procedure in the form of keratoplasty and of course cataract surgery. So how the biometry challenging in such cases? As you know, keratoconus often ends with a hyperopic refraction after cataract surgery. This is because of irregular keratometry, which leads to overestimation of corneal power, leading to underestimation of IOL power. This is similar to post-myopic refractive status. Secondly, as you know, posterior cornea steepens along with the anterior cornea in keratoconus. So this decreases the anterior to posterior curvature ratio in case of keratoconus. One more differentiating factor is the effective lens position, which is more posterior in case of keratoconic eyes. And lastly, the corneal multifocality and the tear film irregularities also restrict the repeatability of the corneal measurements. So this adds to additional source of error. Is there any perfect IOL calculation formula? So the answer is no. There are n number of papers trying to answer this question. So I'm just showing you 4 of them, recent papers. Let us go through them. The first paper, as you see, that shows that SRK2 formula may provide most accurate IOL power calculation in mild keratoconus, but there is still no consensus in cases of moderate to severe keratoconus. As well as per this paper, all formulas lead to hyperopic refractive outcome, and they have found out as SRKT as the best IOL calculation formula. Whilst this paper in an American Academy of Ophthalmology shows that Kane keratoconus formula was the most accurate in this series of cases. While this paper shows that Barrett's universal 2 formula was most accurate in mild to moderate cases, and then they have advocated pentacam keratometry to help and improve the outcomes. So as you say, there is no still consensus in moderate to severe cases. So what was my approach? Thanks to Dr. Mazen Sinjab, who always helps us in finding out solution in such complicated cases. I'm proud to be associated with Sinjab Academy. So he has given a simple algorithm in such cases. In case keratoconus is mild, we can go for an EKR values and the axis with a SRK2 formula, but always compare that with Barrett's 2K formula and a Kane formula. In case of, as I said, in case of moderate to severe keratoconus, there is still no agreement, but we can always go for a Barrett's 2K calculator along with the Kane's formula, and always target for an postoperative postoperative refraction as -1 to -1.5. So how about IOL selection? Of course, avoid multifocal IOLs because loss of contrast sensitivity with these lenses will be magnified by corneal irregularity. Most patients with keratoconus has high negative spherical aberration. So a true aspheric lens or even a positive spherical lens is preferred in such cases. Use of toric IOL is a good option if the cornea is stable or a keratoconus is stable over time and astigmatism is very regular, as in our case. And as I said, the topographic astigmatism, if it is corresponding with the manifest astigmatism, and if the patient is not wearing a contact lenses. Of course, in severe keratoconus with very irregular cornea, or the post-operative contact lens is anticipated, we should go for a monofocal lens. How about operative technique? Whether we should go for any modification? There are few points. Incisions are best placed away from the thinnest area of the cornea, and the main incision is better sutured to reduce the surgically induced astigmatism. Few surgeons do advocate scleral tunnel incision in such cases. Of course, we have to avoid LRI in case we are going in for the flax, as in our case. Use of intraoperative aberrometry can be debated whether it improves the post-operative outcome. It's a question. Always ensure a proper centration of monofocal IOL to avoid inducing trauma. And of course, thorough washout of viscoelastic is advocated to avoid toric IOL rotation. So to summarize, topographic irregularity of anterior and posterior corneal surfaces, altered refractive index, and a regular thinning all combine to make cornea a key factor in IOL power determination in keratoconic eyes. Keratoconus adds to complexity of cataract surgery, but there are methods and approaches that can help to improve the outcomes and patient satisfaction. And toric IOLs can provide excellent outcomes in carefully selected patients with a non-progressive keratoconus. Thank you so much.
Dr. Deshmukh, very informative talk. And